Welcome to It Factor, the vlogcast that uncovers the it that makes companies stand out in the IT-BPM industry. In this episode, we are diving into DXC Technology with Ramnath Venkataraman, President, Consulting and Engineering Services.
So what is DXC Technology's it? Let's find out.
Hi, Ramnath. Good to have you here.
Great to be here, Jack. I couldn't be more pleased.
And welcome back to the Philippines.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Feels familiar, and there is change, but there is also constancy of what I saw in the past. So it's great to be back.
I'm looking forward to the conversation. So let's take a step back, Ramnath. For our listeners, can you tell us a little bit about the early days of your journey, and how this led to technology consulting and the space that you are in right now?
So, Jack, I wish I could tell you that I scripted all this beautifully, but it didn't start with any script. I'm actually an accountant by academic qualification. So I'm a CPA or a chartered accountant. And the first job that I did after graduation was to be a money market dealer with the Indian arm of Goldman Sachs. And that's what I did for about a year. I was it wasn't something that felt like my calling. And in those days, Anderson Consulting, which was an arm of Arthur Anderson, gave me a call and said, will you join the strategy and management consulting side of Anderson Consulting? And sounded very cool. So I joined. I was young, ready to experiment. And that's what I joined. I did a lot of strategy work, working with primarily paper industry clients, doing turnaround of loss-making plants. I did a lot of work in automotive, and I also did a lot of work in consumer durables. And then in 2001, 2002, Accenture got constituted from Anderson Consulting. So Anderson Consulting and Arthur Anderson split, and Accenture went public. And as soon as it became public, there was a need for showing quarterly results and becoming aggressively competitive with a number of Indian IT companies that were getting very prominent in the market, like TCS and Infosys, etc. So Accenture also decided to set up a technology hub in India, serving global clients to compete with a number of other players. And I moved in for 3 months as part of the startup team. And those 3 months turned into a 20-year love affair. And I moved from strategy and consulting to technology. And
so from Anderson Consulting to this very new thing called Accenture.
Correct. And my life changed quite dramatically after that. And I spent 22 years to be precise, running first setting up Accenture in India, and then doing a number of other roles, including working with the Philippines and managing global clients. And my career took a very different trajectory.
Through those 22 years, you were in Bangalore most of the time?
I was first in Mumbai. Then I went and set up Accenture in Chennai, which is another city in the south of India, and then Bangalore. So 3 cities.
Well, that's quite a depth of experience there, Ramnath. When you look back, what skills or lessons would you say were the most valuable, as you worked yourself through the ranks, in the consulting space, and deeper than that, what personal values or experiences have guided your career?
There's a lot in that question, Jack. So maybe I'll parse it into a few different sections and bear with me as I give you this answer. Life taught me very early on building some strong core values. And some of those core values have stayed with me. Integrity, being extremely respectful of people, and being appreciative that we are living in a globally distributed environment, are values that are very, very close to me. And I continue to retain those values. Now, what helped me in that career growth was, uh, I firmly believe that every role that you perform is, somebody gives you a description, but the role is what you make it out to be, and it's in your hands. So you can make every role very textbook description of what that role defines, or you can make that role into something that's your own and have the innate curiosity to uh, take risks, calculated risks, make some mistakes, learn from those mistakes, but continue to make progress in your life and not be averse of taking some risks, and continue to learn. So those have been my core principles and mantras that have helped me. Other piece that has helped me is, a career is never without road bumps, right? It's, I wish I could say that it was always a secular trend going up. It had a lot of road bumps. It had a lot of things that moved up and down. You need to find mentors, people that are going to give you a path of what's the art of the possible. Even though the path that you chart is your own, you need mentors to guide you. So those have been my uh, principles that have guided me through my career.
Thanks for sharing that, Ramnath. But I have a follow up question. In the early years, right? You mentioned, um, the need to take calculated risks. Easier said than done, right? I mean, when you are where you are, you can look back, you connect the dots backwards, and you say, yeah, take risks, learn from the mistakes. But we know when you're 25, 27 years old, it's hard to have that wisdom. So where did you get that?
No, Jack, I made mistakes. You have to make mistakes and learn from those and try. Again, another story. I've always liked the analogy of, if you go and eat food in a real Chinese restaurant, the food is actually placed in round, circular, rotating, yeah, and the thing that you like or dislike is moving around. Now, I look at life like that, and opportunities comes your way, and you need to be able to grab that opportunity and make something out of it. Now, you might not pick it the first time around; it'll come again, and you have to pick it. But you have to pick it before the dish is empty, and you lose all the time that's left for you to grab and make the most out of your opportunity. Sometimes I've picked the wrong things and made some mistakes. But you need to have the ability to fall back and take a course correction. So it's important to learn from your mistakes. You can make newer mistakes, but not repeat the same mistakes that you made, and that's what has helped me. So I've made some mistakes in my life. I've made lots of mistakes, to be fair. But what has helped me is the innate curiosity, the strong self belief that I can do it and find the right path.
And you seem to have, you know risen from those mistakes that you made. You did not allow those mistakes to for you to lose your confidence, right? Or to just rise above.
And I've also found mentors who have helped me. So I've also, when I don't find it within, then I've sought help from people that I respect and who have provided me with, more than anything else, a patient hearing.
So that's certainly a good lesson for some of our listeners. Seek trusted mentors.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, um, I wouldn't be where I am without my mentors.
I'd be interested to hear how you describe the you know, maybe give us a little history of DXC from your vantage point, and its journey, especially here in the Philippines. And looking ahead, what would you say are the milestones or the critical elements in continued trajectory and growth for DXC?
DXC, I couldn't be more proud that life gave me the opportunity to come here and um, make a career at DXC. And if you look at the history of DXC, it started with uh, integration between CSC and HP that brought two large companies together with the very heavy background of great capabilities in managing infrastructure. And then,
Mm.
as you look at the career, the life cycle of DXE, a number of things came along the way where more and more things were added to the capability with an acquisition called Luxsoft that added a strong engineering capability. Then establishment of a strong SAP capability added to that a ServiceNow capability. So it almost organically and inorganically built up into an organization that DXE is today. And coming to the Philippines, a very rich history is DXE has been here for a very very long time, over 2 decades, and uh, I heard from you today that one of the first platinum uh, organizations here in the sector that set the standards for what good looks like, and Philippines continues to remain a critical element of how DXC differentiates the services that we offer to our clients, both from a talent point of view, but more importantly, from a thought leadership and innovation that comes from here. So the history has been rich. The client profile has been fantastic, and I've been surprised, pleasantly surprised, by the extraordinarily strong capability that DXC brings to the table, both in terms of clients, which are the best in their industry, and the people capability, with Philippines being a very, very core part of how we go and differentiate in the marketplace.
Well, thanks for sharing that. DXC has a quite a impressive brand and global presence, and so as you said, we can be proud that the Philippines has become such an important hub for that brand. What can you say about that, and what were some of the reasons why the Philippines is continues to be such an important part of your global reach?
So, Jack, it's not just DXC. If you look at where the industry is in this space, Philippines is a great uh, place for driving a lot of this thought leadership, innovation, and uh, the ability to manage clients across the globe is something which is unparalleled that Philippines offers, and DXE is leveraging that same talent pool and the strength of capability, and the heritage of uh, DXE, as we said in the previous question, is very strong, and from here we deliver work for some of our most complex clients. Some of the most difficult pieces of work that we do is from the Philippines. The largest component of the piece of work that I manage in SAP, the largest strength sits in the Philippines. So it'll continue to be an engine that drives global growth for DXC, and uh, more and more as we look at the changing landscape in today's technology world, with AI coming in and the uh, end state yet to be determined. Philippines is at the heart of making that differentiation work for our clients.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that some of the more complex services are delivered out of the Philippines. And you mentioned SAP, clearly one of your pillars, uh, being, being delivered by your team here. But let's take a step back. I know, Ramnath, that you are no stranger, right, to the Philippines. You've been here countless times. Um, Now, I wanted to ask on a more personal note, what are some of the more personal and memorable experiences you've had in our country?
There are so many, Jack. So I'm gonna try and um, so I'm a student of history. I love reading about the origins, the genesis of different cultures, different geographies, and Philippines has such a rich culture and history. So on two of my trips here, I've spent 2 weekends deliberately. And I've roamed around. I didn't get the chance to go outside of Metro Manila, but I've spent time moving around Manila on my own. And I went to the fort and I understood the rich history. I understood the series of different parts of the geographical timeline when Philippines has moved from one to the other, the extremities of the islands in the Philippines having a little bit of a different complexion and culture to the uh, mainland. And the guide that told me those stories, who explained all of these pieces to me, is something that's etched in my memory. So I hope that I get my wife with me, and we spend 2 weeks taking a look at the rich heritage and culture. And the other piece is, I've said this to my team. Even though I'm an Indian, I love Filipino mangoes
Oh, wow.
more than Indian mangoes. So I come here to enjoy the Filipino mangoes. And third is. The people are just, I've made some of my closest friends here, and I continue to cherish that friendship.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And, score one for Philippine mangoes. That's a debate that's ongoing.
Well, I can tell you what my preference is. It's a very subjective choice. My vote goes for mangoes from here. Maybe it's in my mind, but that's all that counts.
Good to hear it. So, but this trip, Ramnath, is your first to DXC Philippines as as president, right? What makes DXC Philippines a unique value proposition?
I saw from afar in the last 3 months when I met up with all the leaders here on what we do. I met up with clients, and some of the clients that is my home base in the US. We serve those clients from here, and they speak extraordinarily highly about what we do for them. So there's a little bit of background on uh, our capability at DXC uh, that I had before I came here. Now, I've come here and spent time and I've met the leaders. There is nothing better than meeting people face to face, like we're meeting right now. Meeting people behind a screen on a video call is gives you half perspective, but when you come and meet people and really understand the secret sauce of what makes things tick, it just reinforces in my mind that Philippines will continue to drive a large part of DXC. And I said this to the team. I see a number of leaders emerging from here who are going to run large parts of DXC. So it was a reinforcement. We had a great set of conversations with clients here today, and it just reinforced the amount of value that our teams here are creating for our clients, and more importantly, the passion with which they drive what they're doing is exceptional. So I couldn't be more pleased.
Well, I that's very consistent, Ramnath, with my own observation. Having been a partner of DXC Philippines this past 4 years, all the interactions I've had with your team, have been full of that pride of work, right? That confidence in the quality of the work that you do for your global clients. And it was also nice to see some of your local clients earlier today. So really, really, really impressive, and all done in I would say slightly understated way. Just quite consistent with everything I've seen from your team. So on a related note, how do you see the Philippines contribute to the new chapters yet to be written, right? For DXC, as you continue transform from the inside out.
You spoke about meeting our local clients, and I met up with two of them. One of them is a very large retail client here, and one of them is a conglomerate. And um, they're driving some really cutting edge thought leadership pieces of work on what the changing technology landscape is going to mean for them. And we had a very nice conversation, a roundtable discussion on the impact of the changing AI landscape and what it means for them in their business. And it's going to be a rapidly evolving system. And the way I define it is it's a dial, it's not a switch, but that dial is moving very, very quickly at a faster pace than any of the earlier technology life cycle, technology change cycles, right? Now, how does that? These are being driven by clients sitting here, and those changes are driven and translated by our teams into what the future looks like. And they're right at the middle of defining that, right? And that the way we look at changing the wheels of a moving train, make no mistake, this is changing the wheels of a moving train that is continuing to accelerate. As clients do it, every wheel that is getting changed is also getting changed by our teams here. And they're at the in the middle of really defining what this is going to look like over the next 3-5 years. And as we define it, it's going to get embraced by the broader DXC organization. So it's a Philippines out and Philippines in strategy, which means that everything that's happening within the Philippines ecosystem by our teams here is going to get embraced by the broader DXC family, and the broader DXC family doing a number of cutting edge pieces of work is going to get, it's going to be a two-way street that's going to fuel what we do for our clients and continue to drive growth and profitability for DXC.
It's really such an impressive story. Knowing some of the global names that you are servicing out of the Philippines, and I love how you describe how the Filipino capability is well integrated, into the solutions that you're delivering, right? And it's just a brilliant example, I think, of what the next chapter of IT-BPM will be. It's beyond contact center BPO delivery, but really being leveraging on the depth of process excellence and insight, because we've been doing this for a couple of decades, right? And allowing the Filipino digital worker to be part of that process. So and you're proving what that story looks like. So let's talk about talent and upskilling. Very hot topic, especially with the advent of generative and agentic AI. We all know that this is critical to the future of the industry and to all our organizations. So in that context, what partnerships and programs, Ramnath, do you see working on to ensure your workforce are equipped with the future ready skills, in this increasingly AI driven universe?
you know, it's not just the workforce. I need to continue to learn and reinvent myself every day, and because the world is changing so fast, right? I learn from my kids. Both of them teach me how fast the world is changing. First is you need to have the passion and curiosity from within, which our teams have, and then the second is to enable the right channel for that curiosity to be satisfied with the right reskilling mechanism. And it's coming from two parts. One is we have a AI academy which continues to look at the best in class education that we can provide, the training that we can impart. And we've tied up with two or three, not one, but two or three large scale engines that provide this. And we are building curriculum from within, both industry specific, technology specific, and function specific. So there is a ecosystem of learning enablers that are in place, which is available to each one of our associates. And we've got 130,000 associates globally, of which a large chunk sits in the Philippines, right? So that enabling mechanism exists. But most importantly, you need to have the curiosity at whatever stage in your career that you are to reinvent, relearn, and make sure that you're staying relevant. And that's really what we are encouraging by creating a thriving culture of curiosity and rewarding that. And the second piece is how do you put that into practice? And it's happening in two parts. One is to reinvent DXC from within and make sure that we are using ourselves as client zero and
Did you say
implement it.
client zero?
Client zero is basically doing what's happening in the AI world to yourself and making sure that you're becoming the first example of how this needs to be implemented. So we're doing that to demonstrate what can be done. And then second is taking talent and taking use cases, pilots, proof of concepts with client specific examples and making sure that everybody gets the opportunity to play around and work with it. So enabling mechanisms, including tools, and making it available to our teams, providing the right channel for educating themselves, and third is to practically applying them.
Great answers. What do you believe are the future skills needed for a DXC employee? What would you advise your teams in focusing on in terms of building that core?
I would say have innate curiosity. See, the technology will continue to evolve, and I was having a conversation today morning with a client, and the client came back and said, "Technology is not the problem. We need to make sure that we're managing the change and the transition with our people." And that's what I would. We've had waves of technology changes, and this wave is faster. It's more rapid. It's more disruptive, but it's still a wave, right? So how you embrace that wave and have the innate curiosity to learn is what's going to make the difference. That the technology piece as an enabler will continue to be available for everybody in the teams. So what's going to define what the DXE of next 3 years look like is first, I don't think I know what 3 years looks like. I can tell you what 6 months looks like and next 12 months looks like because the technology landscape is changing very, very quickly. What you need to have in mind is the curiosity to invest in yourself and make sure that you're equipping yourself not for doing what you're doing today, but make sure that you're ready for what's coming and be ready for tomorrow. And that piece needs to be a moving target because this technology change is moving at a much faster pace than anything else.
You've mentioned curiosity quite a number of times in this conversation, and I really couldn't agree more. in terms of knowledge and information, it's all within access. We have access to it, right? But without that innate curiosity, you may not if you're not committed, you may not push those buttons and leverage on that. So let's go back to AI. It's transforming the landscape. We all know that of IT-BPM uh, all over the world. How would you describe DXC's strategy and approach to AI overall, and how is the company leveraging this transformative technology to continue to drive innovation and deliver value?
Um, we've just launched a framework to encapsulate all of these components called exponential as part of our framework, right? So how do you it's not an incremental pieces, it's exponential. And it comes first with setting up the right governing principles of what AI can do, because it's like we discussed, it's not something which is reached an end state. It's continuing to evolve, and it's evolving very, very rapidly. So you need to have a governance framework for embracing some of these changes, including making sure that it's highly secure, it's managed to a set of guiding principles. And exponential AI brings all of those framework pieces to bear. And as we do this to our own business, we are adopting and embracing that for our clients, and doing this in a manner in which you learn as you go, and make sure that you can start with a use case that then exponentially expands and covers our client's cost base or improves the revenue piece. And that's really the framework that we have put together. And we will continue to build on it, put in more tools and assets in it, and create something which is go to for our clients to be able to easily embrace.
Okay, certainly an exciting time for all of us. Now, as DXC continues to embark on this transformation, what are some of the opportunities you see for the company and our IT BPM ecosystem that we are all part of, including the Philippines? What are some of these big opportunities that we should take advantage of?
Oh, there are a number of them. Yeah. So um, most of the industries are still trying to figure out what this means for them. Everybody is uh, whether it's data and the foundational layer that builds on what tomorrow could look like. There is a huge component of that on the foundational layer. Once you do that, what does your architecture look like? Because all industries and clients and companies are going to embrace not one but multiple AI models, which means that you need to have the right architecture in place, which brings in the right degree of nimbleness and agility, creating uh, moving away from more a people time and material kind of a commercial construct to an outcome based construct, where there is real value that's coming out of what's being implemented, are very, very large opportunities. And as recently as today morning, this is the exact nature of conversation with clients locally in the Philippines.
Well, thanks. Thanks for sharing that as well. And there's really, I couldn't think of a more exciting time for the industry.
It's probably the most exciting time in my 32 years working in this industry. We're at a point of inflection, and as our CEO Rahul says, 2025 is we'll look back 10 years from now and say this is where the promise of AI started becoming a reality.
Which is a perfect segue, Ramnath, to my final question. For the young Filipinos listening to this podcast, aspiring to build, a career in our industry, what lessons or words of advice would you have for them, from your own personal journey and leadership experience?
Um, I'm going to go back to the thing that you say. I've repeated a number of times. Be curious, learn, because there is no better time than now to learn. Because when I was growing up, I had to rely on hard books with limited availability to learn. Now the entire world is available to you at a click of a button, and the learning opportunities is instantaneous, right? So use that opportunity. It's a great golden time for you all to embrace and learn. The younger mind is more curious, has the appetite to take greater risks, and dabble with a number of things that then tells you what your calling is. I had to do a number of experiments to figure out what my calling was. Now you can do that much faster because of the ability of technology to accelerate all of these things. Second, don't look for a perfect opportunity and wait for it. Take a few things, experiment with it, and figure out what works for you. Learn from it, and then build on top of that. Small incremental steps is what makes a difference, rather than trying to make one giant leap. And you can look at any successful leader that has made an impact. All of them didn't make a giant leap. They took steps, and those steps in the ladder is what takes you there. And it's important to make sure that you're making that step your own, and making a difference in whatever small piece of work that you do.
Don't look for the perfect path. That's a very good
Make every
reminder.
path that comes perfect to fit
You
your
make
needs.
it. So don't try to connect those dots forward. You can connect them backwards. It'll make perfect sense. So words of wisdom. Thank you very much, Ramnath, for the opportunity to have this conversation with you. Welcome back again to the Philippines, and thank you for inviting me and my team to spend time with you here in the new site of DXC Philippines.
I couldn't thank you more. The work that you're doing is so critical for the industry and for the Philippines. More than you thanking me, I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
And that's it for today with It Factor. Thank you for tuning in with us. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow and subscribe to IBPAP on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. Catch the next episode on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Till next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep finding the it that sets you apart.